Scottie is being Scottie again, and we just have to cover it. So essentially, he's on this book press, right? He's been doing this for the last couple of weeks, talking about everything that's on his mind, and he's clearly trying to get some money out of this book. So he has a lot of slander to throw around, and he's got a lot of bad things to say about players like Michael Jordan. He's mad about the documentary that was released last year, The Last Dance, because it really just put Michael Jordan in his whole limelight and it made him look like a god. And so Scottie, he felt very bad about it. Charles Oakley, though, who did play for the Bulls with Michael Jordan and Pippen, did feel like it was something else that was bothering Scottie. He went on to say Scottie felt like he was mistreated and he didn't look good. Scottie did some things that we talked about. But he did say he wants to have his last say about The Last Dance, so who knows what's going on. There's clearly beef between those two, and oh boy, it gets worse. So GQ Sports had an interview with him, and the interviewer goes on to ask him a bunch of questions like, a big part of the book, though, is you saying that without you, there's no Bulls as we know it, no Last Dance documentary, no banners, and Mike's not the same Mike. For those who don't know, this feels like a very bold claim, but since you lived it, how do you see it? Scottie went on to reply, I want people to read and write their own script. You've heard and seen the story of what our team was like, sort of parts of it, parts they wanted you to see. I think the book will definitely give you a different perspective of me and how I saw things and why I did things the way I did. Well, there's more questions, and this just only gets worse. It feels like a very honest perspective. It's set in the book that you set aside your ego and your limitless professional ceiling to achieve what you did. What does that actually mean? What did you set aside? He then says, I think it says it all. You can find happiness in life, and it don't always have to be financial. He says this as he's trying to sell a book. He then goes on to slander who I think at this point is the best NFL player ever, Tom Brady. 7 rings. Nobody has won 7 Super Bowls, so he slanders him, saying, oh, it's hard to place Tom Brady at the top of the NFL, even though he's won a lot of championships. There are almost 70 players on each team. So is he playing on every side of the football? Is he on kickoff? Is he on the punt returns? Because if he ain't playing on them roles, then he got to give credit to his team. Like, what? What does that have to do with anything? You could say the same thing about every other NFL player. Like, why are you trying to make it seem like Tom Brady isn't as good as he is? Like, okay, but let's get to the juicy parts. He goes on to slander Michael Jordan. Let's just look at some quotes from his book, shall we? First off, I was nothing more than a prop. His best teammate of all time, he called me. He couldn't have been more condescending if he tried. Michael was determined to prove to the current generation that he was still larger than LeBron, the player many consider his equal, if not superior. Oh, some shade there. He then continues, Michael received $10 million for his role in the dock, while my teammates and I didn't earn a dime. Another reminder of the pecking order from the old days. Oh, this is sad. This is not something we need to know about. Michael Jordan would never have been Michael Jordan without me. And Scottie Pippen would not have been Scottie Pippen without Michael Jordan. I don't know. I think that's the only thing I can say to that. Now, Charles Barkley, thank goodness, he says it as it is, and he goes on to really be blunt here. On Dan Patrick's show, he says, look, I feel bad because it seems like he's just trying to go big game hunting because he's selling a book. I'm never going to tell another person what to say. We got to all have our own opinions, but this seems like he's got a book coming out. When you write a book, in my opinion, it should be your personal thoughts about everything about you. It's about you letting the world know what you think. It just seems like to me when you go after Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, he came after me a little bit. You're just going big game hunting because, it's going to get some clicks. And okay, then he goes on to talk about how, Scottie, I like him, but he basically repeats himself. Yeah, Charles Barkley is saying as it is. He's telling the truth. Oh, he's not done though. He says on the radio show, he says, talking to my NBA family is kind of like, yo man, will you all please buy this dude's book so he can shut the hell up? Guys, it all makes sense now. That must have been why his wife left him. This dude, man, he just keeps talking about his life and there's nobody cares. What world is Scottie Pippen living in, man? Clearly, nobody's buying his facade. And guys, just to close it out, we have a tweet from Scottie recently saying, well, I couldn't be more excited to introduce a collaboration that brings together two of my favorite beverages, tea and bourbon. Pretty sure there's some salt thrown into that as well.